The Cyrus Cylinder, Part 1. The First Echo of Justice. On an autumn day in 539 BCE, the rays of the sun quietly shone on the high walls and winding streets of Babylon, just as they always had. The hot, dry air embraced the city, but this time a different feeling was in the air. The people of Babylon, instead of fearing swords and bloodshed, and haunted by memories of the past, awaited a king unlike any they had seen before. A king who, instead of bringing war and destruction, had come with a heart full of kindness and a mind filled with justice. Cyrus the Great. Pasargadae was where I was born, but I was on my way to Babylon, marching with the Cyrus's army as we entered the city. The people awaited with a mixture of fear and hope for what lay ahead. They had lived for years under the shadow of the oppression of previous kings, and the bitter memories of suppression and violence were still fresh in their heart. Yet rumors began to spread among the people. This time, a different conqueror had come, a conqueror who, instead of wielding a sword, carried a decree of freedom and justice. In the palace of Babylon, Cyrus held a clay cylinder in his hands and commanded one of his scribes, "Write this truth for all to see. Tell them that I, Cyrus, son of Cambyses, have not come for plunder and destruction. I have come to free Babylon from the chains of oppression." The scribe carefully inscribed every word that left Cyrus's lips onto the clay. But these words were more than just a royal decree. They were the voice of the heart that believed in justice and human dignity. Cyrus continued, "All temples must be reopened. Every nation and every people must be free to worship their own gods. Slavery must end. People shall not be driven from their homes by force. Those who are in exile must be allowed to return to their lands." These words were not just grand promises. They marked a revolution in the way rulers govern. Instead of relying on the power of the sword, he sought to win the hearts of the people. And this distinguished him from other conquerors in the history. The people of Babylon listened in awe and disbelief. Could it be? Had a ruler truly come who cared for their freedom and dignity? The Jews, who had been in captivity for years, heard that Cyrus had allowed them to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple. Hope blossomed in their hearts, and whispers of freedom spread through the Babylonian breeze, reaching the ears of all. Cyrus looked gently at the scribe and smiled. He said to him, "This cylinder is more than words. It is a symbol of what I believe. No government can endure unless it's built on justice and respect for humanity. Let us remember this. The people must be free." The cylinder, which would later become known as the Cyrus cylinder, was placed in the great temple of Marduk, and its message spread across the world. Cyrus was not only a great conqueror, but a ruler who governed with justice and kindness. He authored the first known document that respected human rights. Yet today, centuries have passed, and our world has changed. The decree that once echoed justice seems now forgotten in its own soil. Iran, the birthplace of Cyrus, no longer stands as a land of freedom and justice. It is now caught in wars and bloodshed. Its people are killed in the streets, and the protests are met with violence and repression. The governments that should be the guardians of human rights have become the agents of oppression and injustice. Intellectuals have been driven out of the country. Daughters have been assaulted by the police, and etc. If Cyrus were here today, with the same kindness and sense of justice that define his legacy, he might say, "No government can endure unless it recognizes the rights of its people and respects them." But now, in a world where wars have begun, human rights are being trampled upon, and the land of Cyrus is no longer the utopia where his decree of justice was once engraved. Nevertheless, the voice of Cyrus continues to resonate through history. Cyrus is the father of Iranians, and the whispers of freedom still reach our ears. A voice of justice and liberty strengthens our hearts. Perhaps today's world, more than ever, needs to remember that ancient decree. A decree that reminded us people must be free and no power should rule over them with tyranny.